Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon.
So we'll be shortly joined by Mr. Rizwan Jafar, and he'll be taking your MUN orientation. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have enabled the waiting room. Then why is everyone?
How are you?
And how are you?
Ma'am.
Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. You, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, children.
ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Wonder why he hasn't joined.
Sabina, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. So students, this is Mr. Rizwan Jafar, and he's a DP facilitator, but most importantly for all of you, he has been an MUN coordinator and has been an MUN trainer. And he's also part of the International Toastmasters Club. And he's here to take you through the entire routine of MUN so that next time when you participate, you know all the ins and outs of it. And take this opportunity to understand everything, and also to if you have any queries, so most probably Rizwan sir will answer your queries in the last 5 or 10 minutes. That is up to him. Okay. And happy
Good
morning.
afternoon, miss.
So,
Good afternoon.
all right, so over to you, Rizwan sir.
Good afternoon, miss.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, Miss Sabina, should I wait for a few more minutes since we're expecting a big number?
Yes, that's what I thought. I mean, they've just
Started joining.
getting
Yeah.
over with their classes. So we just told the last half an hour of the morning batches
Okay.
class. I guess you will have more in the afternoon. I mean, when they are ready to join. So
Okay.
yeah, just let's wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
sure.
So hope all of you are interested in MUN, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Very much,
Ma'am.
very much excited.
I have done 3 MUNs before.
Really?
Good.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I
good.
won 2 Best Delegate Awards and 1 High Commendation Award.
Good.
That's superb. So where was it? You're in India?
All 3 of them were in Fairgaze, which is an online MUN platform. I'm in Bangalore.
Okay, that's great. So you'll be able to pitch in, right? With your thoughts.
Definitely.
Yeah, so those who've done more MUNs are going to be expected to speak more. All right.
Is this in MUN or is it just an orientation session?
This is about MUN and the procedures, the terminology, opening statement, resolution paper. So all of that.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi,
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. You want record. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. After hey, everybody.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
230 people. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all of you are joining us. Good afternoon,
Mira
everyone.
is in a car. Mira is in a car. Look at Mira's. Mira Kato X.
How
Excuse me,
come,
you're on mute. I mean, you're on unmute, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
you're on
waiting
mute.
just for a couple of minutes. I think Rizwan sir, you can start. Otherwise, to hold
yeah,
these
yeah,
guys will
yeah,
be
yeah.
difficult. Yeah.
We'll begin. All right. So, everyone, just few rules of procedure before we proceed. Since we have quite a big number and people are going to continue joining in, I'd like you to raise your hands anytime when you have questions. Okay. And once your hands are up, I'm going to call your name and only then will you speak. So I don't want anyone speaking by themselves or whenever they want. Otherwise, this will be really disorganized. All right. And I'll be sharing my screen. So I have a PPT which I'll be using. And also towards the end of the session, today and tomorrow, I'll be sharing a PPT. I'll be sharing sample opening statement document, resolution paper, terminology. So all the resources will be with you guys, including videos, which will tell you how an MUN procedure will take place. All right. So this is the expectation from your side. I hope we all have a notebook in front of us. If we don't, do get one, to have a notepad or a pen, because I'm going to go through a lot of content and it could be quite content heavy for you guys. All right. So I'm just sharing my screen.
Yes.
Ms. Sabina, my screen sharing option is disabled.
Okay. Just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All-
Now you can see.
Sure.
Shall I make you the host? So that
Anything.
you can mute all. Shall I mute all at the moment when you say that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah.
mute, right?
Sure, sure.
Already one open. No.
All right. So can you?
Oh, sorry. Just a second.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Put your mics again. So MUN is Model United Nations. All right. Trust me, this is the thing to do at your age. If you are someone who's not about, if you are someone who hasn't heard about MUN, then you're definitely someone who should hear about it and know more about this. Because everyone at your age is involved in MUNs. There are people who are doing 5, 10, 15 MUNs. And people start attending MUNs from grade 8. So I've been attending MUNs since grade 8, all right? So I'm 27 now. So it's been 15 years since I've been doing MUNs. So right from grade 8 till grade 11, 12, college, undergraduate, masters, and even now I help students organize MUN. So MUN could be something which you could be doing lifelong, all right? And the reason why MUN is so important is because universities, colleges, and employers looking for good jobs, they look for experiences in MUN. Because any student who's done MUNs, they know that this person is good at debating, this person is good at public speaking, this person is good at collaborating with others, this person has good research skills.
Diplomacy, sir.
And this person knows diplomacy. Exactly. That was the term I was looking for. So this is why MUN is so important. So even if you're someone who's not interested in MUN so far, trust me, you need to be, because this is the thing to do and you should not miss out on this. So what is MUN is for us to understand what United Nations is, if you see my slide here. So the United Nations was formed in 1945 after World War II. So the whole purpose of the United Nations forming was to prevent a World War III. So in 1945, around 50 countries initially came together first. They formed a pact, they formed an agreement, they formed an understanding that this is the economic, social, political rules and regulations, and we're all going to abide by it. So the whole purpose of the United Nations till date is to ensure that there's global peace, economic sustainability, the environment is sustainable, politically countries are getting along, and there's fair trade as well. So these are all the reasons why the United Nations exists. Now, where does Model United Nations come from? Model United Nations comes from United Nations. So Model United Nations is a simulation. I hope all of us understand the word simulation, right? Just like a game or a flight simulator. A Model United Nations is a simulation for students to do what the UN does. So this is why the Model United Nations exists, all right? So moving on from the introduction of UN and Model United Nations, I want all of you to give me your complete attention on this slide. So whenever you get to enroll for an MUN, there are two types of MUNs. There could be something called as a Thai MUN, which is called as a Hague International. So THI, Thai MUN, and the other one is Harvard MUN. So whenever you get to do an MUN, you'll be like, this is a Thai MUN, this is a Harvard MUN. What's the difference? You should know the difference, all right? So in the Thai MUN, you make the resolution paper even before attending the MUN. So a resolution paper is a document where you propose a solution to the agenda which we are debating on. So in the Thai MUN or the Hague International MUN, you make the resolution paper even before you attend the MUN. And then you have the Harvard MUN, which is usually the most popular MUN format. It is when you make the resolution paper while you are debating during the course of 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. So this is the basic difference between the Hague International MUN and the Harvard MUN. So should you do any specific MUN? Should you only do Harvard MUN or should you only do Thai MUN? You can do any of these, okay? So any of these MUNs are fine. Both of them provide you a great opportunity to learn. So don't worry about deciding whether I should attend a Hague International MUN or a Harvard MUN. Both MUNs have a lot of benefits as well. So I see some hands up. Solomon, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The question I had was actually last time when I was in 8th and 21K, we had an MUN where, we had the resolution paper made prior to the MUN, and that's how we, went about it. But my question is, suppose while, maybe an idea came in my head, like maybe a suggestion, maybe like a solution that just popped up in my head. So is it all right if I, add it to the already existing resolution paper? Like it's like a combination of like
Absolutely.
both. Is that like allowed?
Yes.
Or am I not?
Yes. That's a good question from Solomon. I hope everyone heard that. You definitely can make amendments in your resolution paper while you're debating. Because obviously on the day of the MUN, there might be some great points, debates, discussions, lobbying. You can make to your resolution paper before it's presented, obviously. So definitely, Solomon, you can make changes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. I see Hansel, SP.
Yes, sir. Like, is it possible to discuss real world events in the MUN?
That is what is going to happen in an MUN. I'll tell you, I'm going to come to that slide very soon. So what
Yes,
issues
sir.
to discuss, what topics are going to take up, I'm going to come back to that in some time. All right. I see some more hands up, but I think I'm going to come back. Okay,
Children,
your
I
hands
have
up.
a suggestion that you keep writing your questions and share them at the end of the session and please try to follow Mr. Rizwan's flow. So he might want to present everything before you. And how about Rizwan sir, how about keeping
Last 15 minutes.
the last 15
We'll
minutes
do
for
that.
questions? All
Sir,
right.
should I
Sure,
just
sure.
ask one small doubt if you don't mind?
Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
Sir, so resolution papers, like what is that something we can write and read or to like?
I will tell you. That's why we were saying last 15 minutes, because I think I'll be able to cover all my important content. Most of your questions would be answered by then. So if you still have questions after my content coverage, you can ask me. All right. So guys, whatever questions you have, you keep it ready. All right. Last 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll give you time. Okay. So moving on from the different types of MUNs, guys, this is why you should do MUNs. And I'd like you guys to note this down. Very, very important. You have to know global politics. All right. You have to know what's happening around you. And this is one of the biggest reasons why colleges, universities, people who want to hire you in jobs are looking for MUN experiences. While you're doing MUN, you also master diplomacy. If you disagree with someone, you cannot just say, I don't like what you're saying. There's a diplomatic way in which you disagree with someone. So you learn diplomacy, you learn to be democratic, you learn to be diplomatic as well. At the same time, you're doing a lot of public speaking, formal vocabulary usage, public speaking, very constructive debating as well. And one of the biggest reasons why I find MUN so helpful because I know people from across India and across the world as well. With 15 years of MUN, I have a whole group of people who are all in one WhatsApp group with people around the world who have 15, 20, 25, 30 years of MUN. And trust me, people who have networked with and collaborated with are in some of the biggest jobs and companies in the world. So think about this. Should you have good networking? If you all think LinkedIn is a great networking opportunity, trust me, MUN is an even bigger networking opportunity because you get to meet people and form relationships for life. And trust me, most people who do MUNs get excellent university placements. They end up in great jobs as well. So this is one of the biggest reasons why you should do MUN is because of networking. And of course, while you're doing MUN and debating, you collaborate. You lobby, you meet other delegates, you form allies, you know which countries you get along with, which countries you don't get along with. So there's a lot of collaborating as well. And of course, universities look at your profile. I'm sure all of you will soon start making your resume as a CVs, or some of you already have a resume and CV. So the more MUNs you have under your CV or resume, no more beneficial it is for you in getting into a good college or doing well in a college interview or a university interview as well. So these are all the benefits why MUN is so important. So how does an MUN take place? What are the first things that takes place? What are the first things that happen? So each of you would be allotted a committee, all right? So a committee is a group which has a specific focus and they'll only talk about issues connected to that focus area. For example, one committee in the United Nations is called as UNDP, United Nations Development Program. That is one committee name. So that committee will only deal with development issues, all right? Then you have another committee which could be called as ECOSOC, Economic and Social. So this committee will only deal with economic and social issues, all right? So like that, you have various committees and I'll be covering all the committees soon as well. So you need to know which committee you want to be part of. So usually you'll get a chance to decide which committee you want to be part of, all right? Then once you decide your committee, you then will be allotted a country of your preference. Now, once you get allotted your country and your committee, look at points 1, 2, 3, 4, everyone on the slide. The first thing you need to
Froze.
And we can't hear you.
Yeah, the first thing you need to do is once you've been allotted your country is look at your country's history. So what is the history of the country? What has been the relationship with the United Nations? What has been the global issues in the past which your country is dealing with? So your country's history is something you need to research on and put all of this research in one Word document. All right. The second thing is knowing your allies and enemies. I hope all of us understand the difference between allies and enemies. So allies are countries you get along with and enemies are countries you don't get along with. For example, US and China are enemies. They don't get along with each other. All right. India and Bangladesh are allies. We get along with each other. India and Pakistan are enemies. So I'm just giving you some examples of allies and enemies. So whichever country you are allotted to, you need to know your allies and enemies. Very, very important. Because the reason why you need to know your allies and enemies is once you get into an MUN debate, you should know which countries you're getting along with, which countries you can lobby with as well. And then comes the third point, which is what is the role of your country and its power in the UN and globally? So what is the role of your country in the UN? How long has it been part of the United Nations? What is the power you have? So I'm sure all of us might have heard about the word 5 permanent members in the Security Council or the 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Don't tell me the
Russia is
answer.
one of them.
Wait. Don't tell me the answer. All right, you'll get to speak in some time. So you have 5 permanent members who are part of the Security Council and they have the veto power, right? So that is UK, US, Russia, France, and China.
Me too.
So these are the 5 countries which are the most powerful countries in the UN. So obviously, if you are allotted one of these countries, you know you need to speak a lot. So this is why getting your country, knowing your relationship in the UN is very, very important. And the fourth important thing, what are the recent developments globally? What are the current affairs? I'm asking a rhetorical question here. I don't want you guys to answer this question to me directly. You don't need to respond to me directly here. But you need to know what are the global issues currently. All right. Has my screen share blackened out?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You
Yes.
see only black screen.
Yeah. I'm just
I think
sharing
someone
it.
annotated.
1 second.
Adi annotated.
Yeah. Okay, so we are back. Okay. I want you guys to think about this and don't answer this question. Okay, if you want, you can note this down. I have a question for you all, and I want you to answer this question in your notebook. Okay, think about it. What are the current global issues taking place around the world? Okay, so think about this question and write the answers in your notebook. What are the biggest issues the whole globe is discussing and thinking about currently? Think about it and start writing it in your notebook. There's a lot of things happening around the world. And trust me, you need to know all of these issues around the world. For example, if you look at one of the most important things which is happening currently is the Ukraine-Russia war. You need to know what's happening in Ukraine, Russia. What is the cause of the war?
Yes, sir.
Who is the most powerful? What is the support they're getting? Who are the allies? What is the role of the NATO? So how is the NATO supporting Ukraine? So one of the biggest issues being discussed in all the MUNs around the world is the Ukraine-Russia war. Then you have another issue, which is the Palestine conflict. So should you know what's the Palestine conflict? What is the cause of it? That's very, very important. All right. The third one is what's happening in Iran. There's an unrest in Iran, right? So there's a huge protest in Iran. It's been going on for a while. You need to know what's happening in Iran. And obviously now that the FIFA World Cup is over, but there was a lot of controversies connected to the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. So you should know what were the controversies about. How did Qatar government respond to it? So that's another very important issue which you should know about. Thinking of another global issue is the Taiwan and China disorientation and a very tense relationship between China and Taiwan. That's another very important global issue. What is the cause of this tension? What is the relationship between these two countries? What is the role of the US in between China and Taiwan? All right. Then you obviously have the global oil and gas crisis. So why is the oil prices so high? Why is there a struggle in the supply of oil from other countries to the European Union? So you need to know the oil and gas crisis. Is the economy struggling globally? Yes, there is. So what is the causes of unemployment? How are governments responding to recession? All right. There's also a lockdown in China. So why is there a lockdown in China? You should definitely know about this. All right. And there are countries which are in an economic mess, absolute mess. They're either in a hyperinflation or a hyper recession. So you look at Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Venezuela, just to name a few. These are countries which are in dire straits, absolute dire straits, because their economic conditions are so bad. So I have just mentioned around 10 issues. And the real question for you guys, which I want you to think about, is how many of these issues do you really know about? And if you just know one or two issues, then you should be reading about these issues. If you know the answers and the knowledge about most of these issues which I've mentioned, then you're doing well. You're doing very, very well. If you don't know much about these issues, then you've got to be reading a lot. So this was just a small check for you guys, all right? Because if you really want to be part of MUNs and debate in an MUN, you need to know about all of these issues. Very, very important, all right? So moving on to the next part. I see hands up, guys. I want you to write down your questions in your notebook. Last 15 minutes, I'm going to get to your questions, all right? So last 15 minutes, I'm going to answer your questions. Please write down your question in the notebook, all right? So the next part of this session is an opening statement. And this is very, very important, all right? Each of you need to make an opening statement, no matter what. You cannot escape from this. So an opening statement has to be for 1 minute, all right? And this is a statement which you need to make. So this is very, very important. And I'm going to tell you guys in some time how to make an opening statement as well. Along with that, you need to be making motions. Motions are basically topics to debate on. So you should have topics to debate on the agenda. So let's say you are part of a committee where the agenda is the Ukraine-Russia war. You should know at least 10 to 15 subtopics which we can discuss. And that obviously depends on your research, right? So that is what motions are. So I'm going to tell you guys in more detail in the coming slides what motions are. Then you need to have at least a gist or a tentative resolution in mind. What could be a solution to this agenda? What could be a solution to the Ukraine-Russia war? What could be a solution to the economic crisis globally? What could be a solution to the China-Taiwan relationship? So these are just some examples, all right? And the fourth one is knowing the terminology as well. And guys, this is something which will take a lot of time from your side to get used to. there are a lot of MUN terminologies. So I'm going to take you through the MUN terminologies as well. This is not like the normal classroom debate. So an MUN debate has a lot of terminologies, which I'll take you through. All right. So the first thing which you are going to make, and you will get the support from your teachers on this and get feedback on this, is the opening statement. And I'd like you guys to write these points, which is on the slide. This is the structure of an opening statement. All right. So the opening statement, as I said earlier, should be of 60 seconds or 1 minute. The first paragraph of your opening statement should be your country's relationship with the United Nations and what is the stance on the agenda being discussed. So for example, let's say I'm US, all right? So my first paragraph of the opening statement would be, the US has been part of the UN since 1945. The UN is also honored and obliged, the US is honored and obliged to have the Security Council permanent power and the veto power. And the US is a very important member of this United Nations and this committee. And as we are discussing a Ukraine-Russia war, the delegate of US feels that the Ukraine-Russia war needs to be resolved immediately. And Russia needs to tone down its aggression and stop its sudden attacks on Ukraine. All right, so you see what I've done in the first paragraph, my relationship with the United Nations and my stance on this issue, which is a Ukraine-Russia war. That's the first paragraph. Then the second paragraph could be the causes of the problems. Why did this war take place? Who is to blame for this? And I need to support this with data and facts. So this is the second paragraph of your opening statement. Then the third paragraph of your opening statement is, what is the resolutions or the solutions you'd like to see in this debate, in this MUN session? So my third paragraph example could be, the delegate of United States feels that the Ukraine-Russia war needs to be stopped immediately. There needs to be an agreement between the two countries and there needs to be a truce in place. Now, there needs to be immediate relief and support given to Ukraine because of the high damage. There needs to be medical assistance, food assistance, support assistance, and US alone cannot do this. The US needs the support of all the other NATO countries around the globe. And Russia needs to be sanctioned immediately with high level of financial, economic consequences. So you all just hear what I said? I gave my resolution, which I'd like to see. Now, you would have also noticed that I never said I. I did not use any personal pronouns. I said the delegate of US, we would like to see. So you are not allowed to use personal pronouns in the MUN. You will always use the word the delegate of US. All right, so these are the terms you're using. No personal pronouns in an MUN. All right. So if you have questions on the opening statement, please write it down. I'm going to come back to it in some time. But I want you guys to see what I'm just opening on my screen. I'm just choosing someone. Tarunika, can you see this PDF? You can just confirm. Anyone else? Can you see this PDF? Okay, you can. So this is a sample of an opening statement, and I'm going to share this with you guys. Okay. So for example, if I'm the delegate of Norway and the issue which we're discussing is child mortality. So see this first paragraph. The delegation of Norway believes that reducing child mortality is crucial to the United Nations. The delegate feels the problem of children dying before the age of 5 is one that requires immediate attention, because this is the death of future generations, and this would be detrimental to the development of society. So this is Norway's stance on this issue, which is child mortality. All right. Now, the second and third paragraph are connected to the causes of this issue itself. So you'll see under Article 6 in the Convention of the Rights of the Child and the UNICEF, children have the right to live and government should ensure that children survive and develop healthily. Therefore, the delegate believes the UN should work together to abide by this article. So I've used a fact here. Remember I told you guys, you need to use some statistics, some facts. So that's a fact used here. All right. And if you see towards the end of this opening statement, this is my resolution, which I have in mind, the delegate of Norway has in mind. The delegate strongly encourages the implementation of measures to halt the spread of HIV, reduce maternal mortality rates, and reduce the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases. So the delegate hopes for a fruitful and constructive debate. So this is the structure of an opening statement. Is there a word count to an opening statement? No. So I'm not going to give you guys a word count. Second, your opening statement has to be for 1 minute. Let's say I am only able to do an opening statement for 40 seconds. All right. So if I'm able to do an opening statement just for 40 seconds, all right, sorry. Yeah. So getting back to where we were. So in terms of the opening statement, let's say I finish my opening statement in 40 seconds. All right. So the chair of the committee can ask all of us, what would you like to do with the remaining time you have? So let's say you've done an opening statement for 40 seconds. The chair would say, delegate, you have 20 seconds left. What would you like to do with the remaining 20 seconds? Now, I'd like you all to please listen to this carefully. So with the remaining 20 seconds, you can decide to do two things. You can say that the delegate of US would like to yield the remaining 20 seconds to the chair. That means I am done and the chair, please continue. So yield to the chair is one option. The second yield is yield to another delegate. So you can actually give the remaining 20 seconds to another delegate to speak. All right. So that is another option where you can yield. So you can yield to the chair, or you can yield to another delegate, or you can also yield to point of inquiry, where you are open to questions. All right. So you can allow anyone to question you as well. So there are 3 yields. I hope all of us can write this down. If you finish earlier, you can yield to the chair. You can yield to another delegate. That's obviously if you have an understanding with the delegate, or you can yield to point of inquiry, where you are open to questions from others. All right. So these are some of the important things about the opening statement. So moving on from an opening statement, the next part is a resolution paper. All right. Very, very important. Because remember, guys, you always want to have a resolution to the agenda which you are talking about. All right. So therefore, you need to present a working paper or a resolution paper. Now, a working paper is a draft of a resolution paper. So don't get confused, sir. What is a working paper? What is a resolution paper? This is just a document which outlines the solutions to the problem which we are discussing. So the working paper is a draft of the resolution paper. All right. And the resolution paper is a final document you are presenting, which could be making amendments people could make amendments to the resolution paper, and this resolution paper would be voted upon by everyone. The first thing you make is a draft of your resolution paper. And once that goes through changes, then is your final resolution paper. So the first thing you need to have in a resolution paper is the committee name. So the points which I have on my slide is actually the format. So I'd like you guys to please ensure you write down these points. These are all the elements which need to be in a resolution paper. The first thing you need to have is a committee. So let's say you're part of DISEC, or you're part of UNDP, or you're part of ECOSOC, Economic and Social Council. So you'll write your committee. The second part of the resolution paper is the agenda. What is the agenda? Is it the Ukraine-Russia war? Is it the economic crisis? Is it the Iran unrest? Is it the Palestine conflict? So that will be the agenda, the topic. All right. Now comes two important terminologies, sponsors and signatories. Please listen to this carefully, otherwise you're going to get in trouble in an MUN. Sponsors are the authors of the resolution paper. I hope all of us understand the word author. All right. So the sponsor is the one who's written the resolution paper. All right. So whoever has written this resolution paper are called as sponsors. So if 6 countries have written the resolution paper, all the 6 countries should be listed next to the sponsors list. Then after sponsors is signatories. Now, signatories are the people who you are convincing, who feel that this is a very good resolution paper and this should be discussed with everyone. Please remember, a sponsor cannot be a signatory. And I'm going to repeat this again. A sponsor cannot be a signatory. So if you are a sponsor and you've written this paper, you need to get others to be signing this paper who feel that this is a good paper to be discussed. So if you don't get enough signatories, will your resolution paper be discussed in the floor of the house? No, it won't. So that is when your job is to convince as many people as possible to sign your paper, to be a signatory, because the more signatories you have, then is a chance for you to present your resolution paper. So can this happen where you've made a resolution paper, but you don't have enough signatories? Of course, it can happen. So I don't want you guys to feel worried or feel demotivated about it. You can make a resolution paper and you might not have enough signatories. So therefore, your paper might not even be discussed. So please remember that a sponsor cannot be a signatory. All right. So these are some important terminologies. Then the next part of the resolution paper is a preambulatory clause. Now, don't get worried about this term. It sounds quite complex. But a preambulatory clause is basically what are the causes of the problem. So again, if our issue is a Ukraine-Russia war, you are listing the causes of the problem. That is what a preambulatory clause means. So you're just putting the bullet points, okay? So that is the preambulatory clause, causes of the problem. Then the operative clause is the solutions to each of the problems you have mentioned above. I'll repeat it again. Operative clause is the solutions to the problems you have listed above. Now, what you'll notice here is in bracket I've written starting with the initiating phrase. So any statement which you make has to have an initiating phrase. So can you guys see my PDF document again? If anyone can say yes for me. If you guys can hear, if you guys can see this document. Yes, anyone? All right, so you guys can see it. So if you see the sample here, look at the format. ECOSOC is the committee. The agenda is on education. All right. You see the next part which I'm highlighting. These are the authors. Do you see any of these authors repeating in signatories? They won't repeat because the author cannot be a signatory. All right. So Iran, Jordan, Norway have written the paper. Who all feel this is a good paper to discuss? It's very important are Congo, Qatar, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So these are your signatories. Now let's look at the preambulatory clause. These are the causes of the problem. So look at the initiating phrase. Keeping in mind. This is the initiating phrase. Keeping in mind the cost of developing a significant education program. Because the cost is very, very high. That is why providing good education is very difficult. Look at the next one, reiterating. So reiterating the enormous benefits of allowing exports and importing nations to allow migrants and remittances. Look at the next one, convince that every nation has an interest in easy migration. So these are the initiating phrases. Then you look at the next part, these are the operative clauses. What did I say operative clauses are? These are the solutions to the problems you have mentioned above. Encourages, this is the initiating phrase. Encourages countries to establish their own microcredit scheme. Calls upon all nations to create a legislation conducive to international migration. Requests all nations to only deport migrants, provided they are vagrants detrimental to the economy, directly connected to criminal activity. So do you see these are one-line bullet points and these are one-line bullet point solutions. These are one-line bullet point causes of the problem. And these are initiating phrases, the ones underlined. Now, if you look at this table here, don't worry about initiating phrases. All the examples of initiating phrases are given here. So what all can you use for a preambulatory clause? These are all the initiating phrases given. So don't worry, all the initiating phrases are given here for you. The same is for operative clauses. All the initiating phrases are given here. So you just need to use this as an example. All right. So this is how it would work. So moving from the resolution paper, the third part is the moderated and unmoderated caucus. All right. These are what we call as motions. So please remember, guys, you need to have around 10 to 15 motions in mind. Motions are basically topics to discuss on. So you can propose motions in two ways. You can propose a moderated caucus or an unmoderated caucus. A moderated caucus is formal. An unmoderated caucus is informal. So look at some of the topics given above. So let's say the topic is on prisoners and the rights of prisoners. If you look at bullet point 2 on my slide, the topic is, the topic is, does a prisoner really deserve the most inhumane? One second, sorry. Yeah, does a prisoner really deserve the most extreme, inhumane, and unhygienic living conditions? Now, how do I propose this as a moderated caucus? Listen to this example carefully. It's the one at the bottom. The delegate of China would like to raise a moderated caucus on the topic. Now you look at the inverted commas. To what extent is a prisoner rightly given the time to recover and learn from his or her mistakes, to return back to the society as a changed person? This is the topic. Now look at the words underlined. With a time of 30 seconds per speaker and a total time of 5 minutes. So guys, in a moderated caucus, you are giving the topic, the time per speaker, and the total time you should spend on this entire topic. I'll repeat it again. 3 things in a moderated caucus: the topic, the time per speaker, and the total time. All right? The topic, the time per speaker, and the total time. So once you propose this, the chair will then ask the delegates in favor of this motion. Now, if majority of the people raise their hand, raise their placards, that means that this is a good topic to discuss on, and then people will start discussing on this topic. So that is a formal topic to propose. Then comes an informal topic, which is an unmoderated caucus. So an unmoderated caucus is an informal way of talking. All right. So this is lobbying and moving around in the room. So that is why this unmoderated caucus exists. The purpose of this unmoderated informal caucus is to move around, lobby, find allies, convince people to support your arguments. So look at the example. The delegate of China would like to raise an unmoderated caucus on the topic. To what extent is the money allocated for prison infrastructure facilities developed, used without corruption, with a total time of 10 minutes? Now, do you realize I haven't given a time per speaker? Per speaker, there isn't any time. So in an unmoderated caucus, there are only 2 things you are doing: the topic and the total time. I'll repeat again, in an unmoderated caucus, you're giving the topic and the total time. That's it. And then people will move around and discuss this. They will move around, meet people, there'll be groups. So you're trying to convince and persuade people to discuss this issue or form a common agreement. So this is a moderated and unmoderated caucus. Of course, whatever you propose will be voted upon. Only when all the delegates in the room feel it's a good topic, then this will be agreed on. Then if the majority of the people say, yes, this is a good topic to discuss, then the chair would ask, delegates who'd like to speak on this motion, please raise your placards. Then let's say 10 of you raise your placards, you will get your chance to speak. So this is how an MUN moderated and unmoderated caucus will go ahead. All right. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. We have around 15 minutes now. I have covered what is an MUN, the history to United Nations, what is an opening statement, what is a resolution paper. I've showed you some samples. So I'd like you to ask questions, okay? There are MUN terminologies, which I'm going to come back to us in the coming slides or tomorrow as well. So we have a lot of time. But I want you guys to ask questions now since we have 15 minutes left. All right. So I'll start with Samaira. Yeah, go ahead. I think Ms. Sabina, we need to allow them to unmute. Yeah.
Any problem, Rizwan sir?
Yeah, the kids need to unmute because they're trying to ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I meet Miss Shazia, the co-host, so I'll try to
Oh.
unmute. Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, they can do it now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're able to do now. Yeah. All right, Samaira, go ahead. Your question, please.
So I actually have many questions.
So you can ask one. You ask the most important one question. You decide.
Why do I require to use a delegation and not I?
Okay. So the thing is, in the United Nations, it's not about individuals, right? In the United Nations, it's about the country. You are representing a country. It's never about yourself. It's about the country you are representing. So if I am the delegate of India, I represent India. It's not about me. So therefore, you always use third person, the delegate of India, delegate of China. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Because Rizwan is not, it's not about Rizwan. It's not about Samaira. It's about the country.
I have a question.
Yeah. I'm going to come to you guys. Raise your hand. I'm going to come to your questions.
My hand is raised.
I'm going to give all of you a turn. So please wait. Aryan, go ahead.
So can we select which country we want to represent?
Absolutely. So you can decide which committee you want to represent and which country you want to take up. Now, which committees are there will obviously depend on the MUN and the school which is hosting it. For example, there are some MUN which will even keep FIFA as a committee. So it makes it more fun, right? So you can be part of the FIFA committee itself and you can decide to be part of FIFA committee and you decide to represent a country. At the same time, you could be part of the DISEC committee, which is for disarmament of nuclear weapons. So that committee will only talk about nuclear weapons, mass destruction weapons, and obviously the Ukraine-Russia war. So you get to decide which committee you want to represent based on the organizers, what committees they keep available.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Hiranmai? Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I just had one question. You mentioned the emotions, the time per speaker and the total time.
Yeah.
So for example, if there's a debate going on a proposed motion, and if I when someone else is speaking, like I finished speaking and someone else is speaking and suddenly I get an idea or something, can the same speaker or delegate speak twice?
Okay, good question. Okay. So let's say someone is speaking on a motion which has been proposed and I hear something that person is saying and I disagree. I'm like raging. I want to reply. So you will raise your placard and say, the delegate would like to propose a point of inquiry. That is only if the chair allows you to speak. So then you'll say the delegate would like to raise a point of inquiry on what the delegate of US has spoken. Then the chair would say, delegate, please go ahead. Then you will question the other delegate.
Yeah, so I have to pose it as if I'm asking a question to the
exactly. So you would raise your
person who said something.
Correct. So you raise your placard. The chair will then say, delegate, what is your concern? You will say the delegate would like to raise a point of inquiry. Then you will question the delegate.
Yeah.
So we cannot just speak whenever we want. You need to raise your placard. Okay. So that's a very good question. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Arya.
Sir, I don't understand the difference between sponsors and signatories.
Okay, I'll tell you. So sponsors are the ones who have written the resolution paper. That's the author, right? It's like the author of a book. So the author will pen down their ideas, their thoughts on the resolution, the problems and the solutions, right? Preambulatory and operative clause. But then once I've written the paper, Just because I have written it doesn't mean that everyone has to agree with it, right? So therefore, I need to bring in signatories. I need to use others in the committee and convince people that this is a good paper and we should discuss this. So therefore, you're trying to get as many signatories as possible. So only when you get more signatories, paper be discussed. Because as I mentioned earlier, I might make a great paper, but if I don't get signatories, my paper itself might not be discussed. All right.
Sir, so it is like whoever agrees to discuss this topic except the authors, their names are signatories.
Correct. Exactly. And that is why you use unmoderated caucus. Remember, I told you guys unmoderated caucus? The purpose of unmoderated caucus is to move around, find people, get people to support you, convince people. So that is why the unmoderated caucus occurs. Have you all seen parliamentary session news channels in India? Right? People run around, they're shouting, there's crowds, there's groups. So that is why an unmoderated caucus exists. All right? For you to lobby, to find allies, to find signatories. All right? Fine. I'm going to take up as many questions as possible, hopefully within the next 10 minutes. I'm coming. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I'm gonna choose the name. Anika, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is if what happens if you want to reply to the answer of your questions? If you ask someone a question, say you ask the delegate of US a question because they yield their time to questions and they
Yeah.
answer your question, what if you
And
want
you
to
want to reply?
reply? Yeah.
Good question. So you'll raise your placard and say, right to reply.
Oh, okay.
Say right to reply, and then the chair will decide, delegate proceed, delegate go ahead.
Okay.
How it will happen. Okay.
I also had another question, if I could ask.
Unfortunately, only one per person. Otherwise, we'll run out of time. Yeah. We have a session tomorrow as well, so I can take up more questions. Okay. Fine. Mariam.
Sir, I have a question that you are saying it is a debate. So what's the topic of the debate?
The topic of the debate will depend on the committee you're part of, Mariam. So you can be part of UNICEF as a committee, and the focus is only on issues connected to children. All right.
UNICEF
So
is connected to children's, right?
yes, the development and issues connected with children. Whichever committee you're part of, there will be one agenda, and that will be the focus of the entire session.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Usman. Usman, your mic's on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry. So like my question was based on like the Ukraine and Russia war, like there was a lot of turmoil in between, right? It's like if like a community is like proposing a resolution to stop the war between Ukraine and Russia. But like nowadays, like in the past like few decades, NATO has been expanding a lot. And like Ukraine has been like trying to get into NATO as well. And Russia doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And actually there's quite a few reasons why Russia won't want that. So like here's the thing. You can't just, if a country gets insecure, you can't just go and bomb the other country, right? So like when you're actually presenting your MUN, do you actually even say the cons and in the MUN, or do you do it in the debate part of the that may or may not happen?
Okay, you can present your perspectives in two ways. You can present your perspectives in an opening statement. That's a formal way. You can present your perspectives in an unmoderated caucus when you're moving around, or you can present your perspectives when you're speaking on a motion, or when you want to question others. So there are multiple avenues you have in the way in which you want to present your opinions. So of course, you can talk about the cons, you can talk about these points which you're mentioning, and you can decide when to present it as well.
Okay, so like you can also do it in the MUN part, like you can start the statements with the cons. Like actually what I think is like even presenting the cons might lighten the emphasis on the true topic, like the true idea that a person is trying to emphasize.
Yeah, but then you have to remember that you represent a country. So whatever point you are putting forward cannot be Usman's belief. It has to be the countries you are following and the foreign policy of the country which you are representing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just remember that. Yeah. All right. Fine. I I'm going to choose some name and random. All right. Devan, yeah.
So, as my question is, what if I'm speaking and I run out of time? So, is there any way I can continue?
Okay. So let's say your opening statement is for 1 minute and you go beyond 1 minute, you'll be stopped. You cannot
Okay.
more than 1 minute. And in a
Thank you, sir.
yeah, in a motion, we've all decided 30 seconds per speaker, and you have gone to 31 seconds, you'll be stopped. So that
Okay.
in MUN, it's a skill to convey your points within a certain period of time as well. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
There's also a skill you will develop. Shivansh, go ahead.
Sir, I have a follow-up question.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Shivansh.
So, like you said that if we are presenting a resolution, we will get a time of 1 minute per person. But what if we are asking a question or we are giving a reply to nation's delegate? So how much amount of time will we get to answer a question or to ask a question?
Okay, just to correct you, there's no time limit for resolution. So there's no time limit to resolution. There's a time limit to opening statement. Okay. But if you question someone else, there's no time limit for that. Obviously, you can't question someone for 2 minutes. You should be able to question someone within 10 seconds. It shouldn't take you longer than that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Fine. Purnishi.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Is the resolution paper shared at presented at the end of the event?
Yes. So
After
let's
the
say we have a 2 days MUN. So on the second day, most likely after lunch, the last 3 hours, that is when the resolution papers will be presented. So when a resolution paper is presented, and with Purnishi, there are 5 other sponsors or authors, you all will come up in front of everyone, project your resolution paper on stage in front of everyone and present your paper. Then there will be amendments to that resolution paper, and then it will be voted upon.
Sir, can you share the PPT?
I'll be sharing everything, so don't worry, guys. I'll take up the next question.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a doubt that from signatures, like different countries' signature on the resolution paper, so that whether the agenda is good to be debated on. So, sir, how the chairperson knows that whether the country have whether these countries have signed or not?
Okay. So once you've made your resolution paper, you will get signatories in your paper. You will give your paper to the chair, who's the person in charge of the session. The chair will then review the resolution papers, and then it will be presented in front of everyone. So if there is a problem in the resolution paper, the chair will talk to you about it informally, maybe during lunchtime or maybe during the break, and tell you that there's a mistake, please correct this. So the chair will be reviewing it. There'll be few other people sitting with the chair. The chair is in charge of the session. So the chair will make corrections to it. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Johan.
Sir, like the Ukraine war is going on, sir. So like, is the UN doing like anything about it?
See, of course, the UN is. It obviously depends on how much news you are reading. More than the UN is the countries which are part of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. These countries are supporting Ukraine. So if you see the country which is supporting Ukraine the most is the US, UK, France, Germany. So these countries are providing Ukraine with financial support, food support, weapon support. So that is why Ukraine is still able to sustain themselves, make ground, and actually they're doing much better than what it was in the initial stages. So UN will provide the framework, but it depends on the countries which really support and get involved in the issue. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thanks.
All right. Kiara?
Yes, sir. So I have 2 questions actually.
You can ask me 1 question.
Okay, sir. So what is the maximum number of signatories we need?
If you can get 100 signatories, super. If you can get 10 signatories, that's great. So the more signatories you get, the better. So I cannot give you a number that get 2 signatories or 3 signatories. If we have 50 delegates in the room, you should try to get as many as possible. So 10 signatories is a good number.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Sir, how do we choose our communities?
You will,
Yes, sorry.
the school will tell you which committees are there. And then from the committees which are made available, you can decide which committee you want to be part of. And then you give your country of preference.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Please remember, if you are given US, China, France, Russia, UK, you will be expected to speak a lot because you're a very important, powerful country. So you need to choose your country wisely. Very important. Okay. And obviously, you need to know all the things about your country, research as much as possible. That is where your teachers will help you in this. The teachers will give you feedback on your opening statement. The teachers will give you feedback on your resolution paper. The teachers will give you feedback on the motions which you prepare. But please don't expect your teachers to spoon feed you everything. This needs to be student initiated, but the teachers are available to give you feedback. All right. So I'll take one last question and we have to stop. Akshat.
Sir, what is a position paper?
Position paper is very similar to a working paper or a draft resolution paper. So don't get confused. Some MUNs will say position paper, some MUNs will say a draft resolution, some MUNs will say working paper. So don't get confused. You use the format which I've given you. Okay?
Sir, is it the same as this opening statement?
Yes. No. Opening statement is your stance. 1 minute. Position paper is the same as resolution paper or draft resolution paper. Okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. So guys, time is up. So I really enjoyed the session. You guys are very attentive, well behaved, excellent kids. And tomorrow we have another session as well. So I am not able to answer all your questions.
Sir, tomorrow also it is at 1 o'clock?
Yeah,
Yes.
tomorrow also it's at 1. So you have questions which are unanswered, please note them down. I'll answer more questions tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll take you through the procedure, like from start to end, how does the process take place? What are the terminologies? And I have a quiz for you guys as well. So tomorrow it will be fun. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Have a good
Sir,
night.
have a nice day.
Sir, bye, sir.
Have a nice
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, thank you, sir.
Ma'am, have a
Bye.
nice day. Thank you, sir. Have a nice
Bye,
day.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Bye.
sir. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Sir, can you share the sample
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
resolution paper as well as the opening speech?
Yes, everything will be shared after tomorrow's session. Yeah.
Sir,
all-
will we share the recording of this session?
Yeah, we'll take it and we'll share it, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, sir.